All right. Great to be with you, and it's amazing to gather together and study through 1 Corinthians. Just want to give you a warning about the upcoming sermon this week. We're going to deal with a lot of the sin of sexual tolerance, and so it's going to be a bit of a doozy. Pray for us. It's a huge issue in our culture. A lot of young Christians, a lot of naive people think it's loving to tolerate, to affirm, to celebrate what God calls sexual sin. So we're going to deal with that this upcoming week. And so please do be praying for us as a church that it's communicated lovingly and effectively. One of the difficulties, and we'll talk about this on Sunday, of teaching through a truth like that is you have a couple audiences. One, you have a church that's Christians that's trying to navigate it, and so you have to equip the saints for the world. But then there also are people coming in, and this is their struggle, and they need to hear about the love of Jesus, the kindness of Jesus, and just pray we thread that needle where we equip the saints, but we also care for the lost. And so do appreciate that, and just want to give you a warning about what's coming. This week, we spent a lot of time Paul's putting the bow on this issue. He's been dropping in and out of through his study on 1 Corinthians as he's been dealing with the reality that there's fighting in the church, there's division, there's gossip, there's slander, all based upon the leader. And Paul showed a couple weeks ago, that shows you don't know what God's wisdom is. Last week we saw, that shows you don't know what God says success is, even what God's going to reward when you stand before him. This week he says, here's the real problem. It shows that somewhere along the line, you've gotten puffed up with pride. Pride's tricky. Some people are prideful their whole life. It's their struggle. Some people start well, pride creeps in and they get puffed up. Pride is something we always have to be on the watch for because God opposes the proud, God gives grace to the humble. And Paul's saying the fact that you have this division, you have these frustrations, you have this arguing, it shows that pride's actually come in among the church. That's why you're oversteaming, you're understeaming, you're basically using the world's values. And I love that Paul asks 3 questions to deal with our pride. He says, who makes you different than anyone else? Right? Who makes you different than any other person? If you're athletic, if you're academic, if you're good with finances, whatever it is, who's made you different? And then second question, what do you have that you did not receive? We were fortunate, all of us, to be born into the homes we were born into, to live in the area of the world we got to live and grow up in. We all had our struggles, we all had our difficulties, but we had an amazing opportunity. What did you have? What do you have that you did not receive from God? So who makes you different? What do you have that you did not receive? And then third question he asked, if then you received it, why do you boast as if you did not? You want to do a little assessment about pride in your life. Are there things you're boasting about that are actually God's gifts to you? Are you boasting about your hard work? Are you boasting about your discipline? Are you boasting about the things you've done? When in reality, those are the things God's given to you. Humble people are thankful people, because they're thankful that, God, you've made me like this. God, you've gifted me like this. God, you've allowed this in my life. That should not produce arrogance in us. It should produce humility in us. And I hope you guys have a great discussion on just the difficulty of where arrogance can creep in. Where do you see people boasting like that in our culture? This is me. This is because I was whatever, disciplined, hardworking, all that stuff. Those are gifts from God. And how do we grow in thankfulness as a group about the good gifts God's given us? So pray for us for next week. Have a great discussion about pride and arrogance. Look forward to hearing how it goes.